guys, we are in the new year and we are continuing on with this decluttering journey. I got a bit of a head start towards the end of last year. I decluttered my office that I'm standing in, our guest room, Kyle's office, the kitchen, my closet, our garage, and a few other little bitty places. But today we are going to kind of go through a lot of the house. I will still have more after this, but I'm just gonna go as far as I can. One thing that I've learned is to re-declutter the areas that I've already tackled, like my office, for example, but it's not gonna take me a whole lot of time because I've already kind of thoroughly gone through each space. So today we're just going to really quickly go through my office, go through the guest room, go through the kitchen, and then we are going to start tackling some new areas. That way I'll continue keeping these spaces up, just maintaining them so they don't get out of hand. And I'll also create more motivation that way. So we have a lot to get done. I'm hoping that I can get the clothes in my bedroom, like in our dressers, taken care of. A lot of shoes I need to declutter. And I also want to head into my bathroom, tackle those areas, and hopefully we make our way upstairs to the boys' rooms. If not, we'll tackle that in the next video, but fingers crossed I can move pretty quickly today and get a lot done. So without further ado, let's do this. I wanna hear you say that you only want me. Okay, so I definitely am a person that has a tendency to get super focused on one thing and just hang out in that area for a long time. And I don't want to do that because I really want to continue on and not just stay in these old areas, but I do want to maintain them. So I'm going to set myself a timer for each room that I've already gone through. So in my office, I don't have a lot of extra stuff in here. So I'm just gonna do a 5-minute timer. When that timer is done, I'll move on. There we go, 5 minutes. So this was actually so nice to do because it definitely motivated me in knowing that I have already decluttered these areas, and it just felt so much nicer. It wasn't stressful to open these doors up because I had kind of somewhat recently decluttered them. So if you are on a decluttering journey, I would absolutely recommend going back through somewhat frequently into those spaces that you've already decluttered and just go back through them. You might only find 1 item or 5 items or, whatever, but it really isn't about the number of items. It's just knowing that you're keeping those spaces decluttered so that you don't let them get out of hand again. I think for this one, I'm gonna do 6 minutes just to give me a little tiny extra time. So 6-minute timer starting now. So I would say back when I was kind of a newer mom, I used to declutter all the time. Honestly, I feel like I was much better at decluttering prior to having my YouTube channel because I think the biggest reason is now it's like I want to share that process with you guys. And so I don't just randomly on a whim, like, hey, I think I'm gonna declutter this one drawer today. Instead, I'm like, oh, I will share that in a video next week or something. So when that happens, then it ends up getting pushed off. And then before I know it, I am so bogged down. It's so overwhelming to go through everything. And this is definitely a tip that's going to be helping me really avoid that and kind of get back to that consistent decluttering where you just do it all the time. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that little basket in the corner of my guest room. That is my declutter bin. It lives there all the time, other than when I bring it to donate the contents inside of it. But that is awesome because if I put on a shirt or I put on a pair of shoes or that one random item in the kitchen is never getting used, I will immediately go take it to the donate bin, and then I don't have to specifically go and declutter that item. It just kind of naturally makes its way out of our home. So if you do not have a constant declutter bin, I would definitely suggest having one in your home. You can stick it in your closet, you can stick it by the front door, just wherever is convenient for you, but it really does make a huge difference to have that.
Had me in your possession, had you swimming inside my affection, but with you I came second, so I cut off the connection. And now you're calling me, holding your heart there inside your hands. You say I'm where you wanna be, but you're out of chances. To come back.
So as you're watching this, I'm sure you're thinking, wow, she really is not decluttering a whole lot from this area, especially a kitchen, which I feel is often very cluttered. But just keep in mind, I did just recently declutter our kitchen and I haven't really added a lot into here. And so if you want to see that video where you can see the entire kitchen being decluttered from top to bottom, I will link that video along with the entire playlist down below so you can check that out. But I got rid of an entire tables full. Like our kitchen table was covered from end to end with items that I decluttered and it felt so much better. Our kitchen flows and feels so much more functional now, and I don't feel stressed every time I open the cabinets. So don't let the 5 items that I found in here fool you. I've already gone through this, but it was still nice to go through it today because I did find those few items that I just don't need to hold on to since I'm clearly not using them.
All yours, but you're out of chances. No, you don't get to come back. Crying over the love that you had. Maybe nice try, maybe next time you'll hold on to what you have. No, you don't get to show up, teary-eyed saying I'm all you want. Maybe nice try, maybe next time you won't sleep on a good love.
All right, so we are in my bedroom now. You guys are actually sitting on my little shoe bin area. This is an area that has been so helpful because it just gives us a good place for our shoes. However, I don't go through it very often and I'll show you, but it really needs it. So I'm gonna go through mine and I'm also gonna go through Kyle's. Of course, he will always have a say in what he wants to keep and get rid of, but I'm pretty good usually at being able to know the things that I see him use and things I don't. So this actually helps him kind of get a head start on this. So let's do this.
I don't wanna write this song. Potato chips and coffee, deadlines never stop me. Glove a woman, open door. Learning to negotiate, buying up some real estate, and you know when it's good.
So Kyle and I are kind of different with this. I would say neither of us are like crazy shoe people. Like I don't feel like we have a ton of shoes, but clearly we have more than we need. But I've never been a person that has, you know, racks and racks of shoes covering up your entire closet. I just kind of like to cram them into one area like this. But it definitely was way too many. So I was using the container method, which I learned from Dana K. White from her book, Decluttering at the Speed of Life. That book has been a game changer in my decluttering game. Basically, now I'm looking at my shoe organizer as this is my container. So once my container is full of shoes, I have too many and I need to pick my favorites. And that's what I did. And it was perfect. And now I don't have too many shoes. And it just feels like a breath of fresh air whenever I open this up. But Kyle is funny because he's a little bit different. Like I will go thrifting and I'll find different shoes and things like that. But he doesn't get new shoes often. But he does not like to get rid of anything that isn't completely just destroyed. but he will not pick those items anymore because they're kind of like worn down too much to wear, but not so worn down that they're literally falling apart. And so that's where he's kind of struggling. So I'm going to go ahead and help him out with this. And I'm just taking out the things that he never wears and kind of see where he wants to go with those. All right, my closet I feel wasn't the worst that it's been because I went through it maybe 6 months ago or something. But Kyle's dresser, on the other hand, was very rough. Like, I don't even know if I've ever gone through it ever since we moved into this house like 2.5 years ago. And I'm sure that he hasn't gone through it. So this is like an untouched space and it definitely felt like it, but it was getting so bad because literally he couldn't barely even open the drawer when he would grab his workout clothes because that drawer was so completely overstuffed. And a lot of the things either didn't fit or they were so worn or they were just not the style anymore, whatever the case may be. So I went through and just, again, pulled out anything that I'd never see him wear. And then he was able to go through that a little bit later on and decide for sure if he wanted those items or was happy to get rid of them. And you'll be able to see in the before and after, but his drawers were just so massively changed from when I first opened them up. And he's even commented several times just how nice it feels to open those drawers up and have exactly what he needs and exactly what he wants to use and wear and nothing more.
Under your eyes, got brand new colors, my mind is going crazy. Baby, maybe you've got all my attention, living inside the tension. My mind is going crazy. Baby, I think I like it, I think I like it. I think I maybe might be diving into your ocean. No point in trying to deny it or trying to fight it or trying to hide it. I've decided to drown inside it. I think I like it, I think I like it. I think I maybe might be diving into your ocean. No point in trying to deny it or trying to fight it or trying to hide it. I've decided to drown inside it.
Okay, so Kyle, when I first met him, he fairly early on told me about this sock saturation theory that he has. And he just feels like you are always losing socks. So his theory is that you can never, ever have too many socks. I completely disagree with this because this theory will make him keep socks long after they're working, like they don't stay up on his heel anymore. They're so stretched out and he just will not ever throw any socks away. Like you'll see in just a minute, but I actually got him some new socks literally 2 Christmases ago and he has never opened them because he still is using the socks that don't even stay up on his ankle. So I'm going to do him a favor, let some of those old worn out socks go and pull out some of the fresh new ones. And I know that'll make a big difference for him. But when you are decluttering, don't look past these small areas because they really can make a big difference. Sometimes you think like, oh, my sock drawer, it's not going to make a huge difference. But if it's overstuffed and if you can't even open up the drawer every time you go in there, you can't find the socks you're wanting, it really does make a massive difference when you declutter things and just make things feel more manageable. Every little space in your home should be able to serve you and definitely not add stress to your day.
There was a moment when we were everything, and now I don't even remember your middle name. Oh, and it makes me sad when
are making some progress. So we're in my bathroom now. Don't mind the tape that I have. I'm kind of playing around with like sizes because one, can you see this? Literally like the whole mirror, it's not fully attached somewhere. And I know it's like a matter of time till it comes crashing down. I also just want to replace the builder grade mirror anyway. Kyle's is gonna be easy. Like he has a sink in the middle, super easy. Mine is a little bit trickier because I have the sink over here and then it's like a drop down vanity. So it has to be like pretty long, I think. If you guys have any ideas for mirrors, let me know. The only thing I can think is like a really long mirror, just like turned sideways. Anyway, I did do like a organize in my bathroom. I feel like it wasn't that long ago. It probably was a little while ago though. So I do definitely need to declutter and reorganize a bit in here. Today we're just gonna focus on declutter, of course, but I will go ahead and put up that video up here in the iCards and also on the screen. So you can go ahead and check that out if you haven't seen that, just because it was way worse than it is today back when I did like a little declutter and organize in here. But anyway, we have to get this done and then I'm hoping I'll have a little time to do at least one of the boys' rooms. And I think I know who I'm gonna choose because their room is the worst out of all three of them. So anyway, let's go ahead and get the bathroom going. All right, this is so random, but I just wanted to fill up our mouthwash bottle or container, whatever you want to call it, just because it was very, very low and I wanted to not have to store this mouthwash down below. I wanted to keep it where it was supposed to be. So I was doing that, getting that taken care of real quick, and then I went ahead and jumped back into decluttering.
People keep changing. People keep changing. This time a year ago, I couldn't picture a day without you. But that's just how things go. People move on, changing. But time has a way of healing, putting back all the broken pieces. Maybe we'll run into each other and talk about the good times.
So I feel like my bathroom vanity is definitely the worst for sure over Kyle's, but as I went through everything, I had different sections. I had things that didn't belong in my bathroom because you guys know I've talked about this before, but I would basically like just put something away to get it off the counter and it would go in the wrong spot. So I'm not doing that anymore. I'm working on that and just instead when I have something in my hand, I take the extra minute to put it exactly where it belongs. That way I can actually find it and it's not just prolonging the mess, but I did have to undo that a lot in these drawers. So I was working on that, of course. And then, of course, there was some clutter, some things that I just didn't use anymore or things that I had a lot of good intentions with. I feel like that is what my bathroom is. I am very bad with self-care. I'm very bad with, a lot of those extra things. But I really want to be good. Like I want to do face masks every night or multiple times a week. And I feel like I just don't have time or I don't make the time for it. And so I have a ton of face masks that never get used. Now that is one of my goals this year is to work towards better self-care or like more consistent self-care. So I am still keeping some of those items, but I'm being more realistic with myself and like letting some of them go. I'm going to be able to give some to my sisters or friends, things like that, especially if they're open. I know I can't really donate the open things, but anything that I'm not using or anything that doesn't get me super excited when it comes to skincare and self-care and all that stuff, I'm moving on from it. Also, super side note, but have you guys started using castor oil? I know it's become like this super popular thing. I did some research and I ordered a really good one. I haven't gotten to use it yet, but I'm really excited to kind of start that journey and start working with it because I think it can just do a lot of amazing things. But if you are using castor oil, let me know all your tips and tricks. It just sounds like it can do so much. Also, this is a super side note, but if you have not seen what we did to our bathroom several months ago, we painted these cabinets because they were in great working condition, but on the outside, like they had scratches all over them, big dings. They just kind of looked a mess when you got up close. And we didn't want or have the budget to rip out the cabinets or anything like that. So we used Beyond Paint and I painted them and added some hardware, and it just made a world of difference in this bathroom. There's still more that we want to do in this bathroom, but this little step made such a huge difference. So the two piles that I'm showing you are basically, one of them is just things that need to go somewhere else that I didn't run upstairs to put away. And then the other pile is things that we are going to be going ahead and decluttering. A lot of them are like really nice things, but if you're not going to use them, then it's just not going to serve you anymore. And sometimes I really struggle with that. Like, this is in perfect condition, or this is a really nice item, I should keep it and make sure I use it and get my money's worth, or whatever the case may be. But once you have something in your home, you've already spent the money on it, and now you are paying for it in different ways. You are paying for it by using a valuable space in your home. You are paying for it by taking up your time to manage it, organize it, clean it, whatever. And you're also paying for it mentally. Every time you see that item, it is going to add a mental weight onto your mind. So as soon as you're not getting any more use out of that item, let it go. The money is spent, so stop paying for it in other ways. Oh my gosh, you guys, it has been a day. It's not been a bad day. It's just been one of those days where everywhere you look, every new thing you turn to, like, there is a hiccup. And there have been 1,000 hiccups today, and it's just been tiring. And I'm honestly just like ready to kind of call it a day. But I really want to get this done in here. I want to declutter Noah's room. Right now, it doesn't look awful. Leading up to this, it has been a disaster because we had Christmas, we haven't gone through toys. I know his clothes, there are some that are maybe not fitting so well, like some that he's just not wearing. So I really want to check this off my list. I feel like this will make me feel a little bit more accomplished today and feel like I do have a little bit more control of the day than I am having. So we're gonna go ahead and get this done. I'm also in a bit of a time crunch because the boys got home from school not too long ago, and Noah has football practice in like 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes. So we have to get this done quickly. But I'm only gonna focus on Noah's room tonight, so I think we can get it done. We just have to really stick to it. So let's go ahead and do this. So when things are perfectly put away, I think that is not the moment that you need to decide or realize that you need to declutter. But when things are chaos, that's when it shows that you are in need of decluttering, because I know for me, like, I'm pretty good at hiding my clutter sometimes. Like, you give me anything, I can stick it in a bin, I can stick it in a closet, I can stick it under a bed, I can clean it and make it look really nice. But as soon as we start to live with those items, it will fall apart because there's too many of them. So I just kind of wanted to say that because I felt like as I was going through the before shots of Noah's closet, you couldn't really tell that there was too much in there just because it was all organized. It was all put away. It was all clean. It looked kind of nice. But I know that as soon as he starts pulling things out, he pulls out things that he doesn't use, and then it just gets left on the floor and it becomes chaos in his room. So we are going to tackle the toys in just a minute, but I wanted to first start with his clothes. I feel like the boys have been growing like weeds lately, so I just wanted to quickly run through his clothes, let him choose any that he liked or didn't like, and then I of course know the ones that fit or don't fit, and everything that's not going to be used anymore we'll go ahead and put in a donate pile. These books, He actually kept, I think, all of them because our kids thankfully love to read and they read these books all the time. But Noah has a habit of grabbing the books and whatever books he's reading, he'll just stick them back on his own personal bookshelf versus the one that's in our loft living room area upstairs, which is a lot larger and able to fit those books. So I was just taking down the really big bulky books and bringing those out to a different area. And then I went ahead and started working on each individual toy bin with him and just seeing like what things he wanted and what things he didn't. Now, one tip that I will give you for decluttering with kids is, of course, you can just take things to a regular donation center, but you can also take them to a consignment shop. I know one of them that we've gone to for a long time is called Once Upon a Child, and they are more of a consignment shop. So what they do is they'll actually go through all of your items and then they will give you a rate for it. So they'll say, you know, hey, I'll give you $50 for these 2 laundry baskets of toys or whatever items you're bringing in. So just to help my kids not feel so attached to items that I know they never ever play with, is I offer that we can take their old items to a place like that and I will give the money that their old items earn straight to them. So that means the boys are going to be getting instant pocket money, and that means that they are then able to get rid of the things that they don't want and don't play with anymore. And then they can even turn around and go to the store and buy a new toy that they really do love. So I feel like that has just kind of made the decluttering process with kids a little bit easier. And I definitely don't want them just to declutter. I have talked about that with you guys before, but just like I had mentioned earlier, if you are no longer using an item, then it's no longer benefiting you. So if he's not ever grabbing for these toys, other than to get them out of the way so that he can play with the toys that he actually enjoys, then he might as well get rid of them because they're no longer serving him either.
I was ready for you. 2 halves made whole. It's the truth. I'll never give you up. I'll never turn you loose. You were made for me, and I was made for you. I believe it, honey, like I trust the moon. Not a minute late, hope too soon. I'm looking at you.
Once we got done with this, Noah's room felt so much better. It just felt like it could actually breathe once again because it was definitely getting out of hand within an hour or so after cleaning it. So I'm super grateful that I was able to make time to get this done, and I know he has really enjoyed having a more peaceful room as well. Now I will be continuing through my house. I need to declutter my pantry. I need to declutter the rest of our boys' rooms. There are a few more rooms upstairs we need to declutter, but we got a lot of areas in our home decluttered today and it feels so amazing. Now, if you are still here with me, I'm gonna link this video on the right side of the screen for you. This was actually a fun one because this was back at my old house in Utah and I decluttered so much. So definitely go check that one out next, and I hope it continues to give you even more motivation. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.